introduce our panel.
How y'all doing? As he said, my name is Naomi Winston, and I am here to welcome you all to our discussion about Black women building high-growth tech companies. My name is Naomi Winston. I am a sophomore history major here at Xavier University and a proud member of our student business incubator. My business is Revolutionary Hearts Industries. I do publishing, art, as well as having my own clothing company. The goals of my company are representation, social activism, as well as mental health awareness. Miss Simone Spence was born in Manhattan and grew up on Long Island. She has been starting businesses since she was 6 years old. Her first one was a Kool-Aid stand on the corner in the Bronx. Simone has a habit of filling voids that exist and then filling those voids. She is now the founder and CEO of the tech company Don't Get Mad, Get Paid. The company addresses the $118 billion in unpaid child support owed to women and children in the United States. She has made it her mission to help the millions of women to collect. Her first book was the catalyst for her company, which started as a consultation practice and is now an automated tech platform. The company combines high social returns for her customers with high capital returns for her investors. When not working 15 hours a day building her company or planning the company exit strategy, Ms. Simone can be found spending time with her family, scheming on how to fit travel time in her schedule, and planning survival tactics for the zombie apocalypse. I'll now turn the program to our moderator, Ms. Simone Spence.
Thank you very much. And she's not kidding about that. I am like obsessed with the zombie apocalypse. I know it's coming, and I'm gonna be prepared. So when it comes, you guys come and find me. We're gonna get through this thing. I got all the stuff in my attic, we're good. So as it was shared, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I'm sitting here at the table with some serial entrepreneurs, and I'm really excited to have this panel today and moderate this panel today, because what we're talking about today is we're talking about people like us, people that look like us. This is Black Women's Entrepreneurship Week at Xavier. We're talking about, can Black women build tech? Are Black women building tech? And depending on who you talk to, depending on what you read, depending on what you see on TV, a lot of people are going to tell you, we're not building tech. A lot of people will tell you, we can't build tech. We don't have the chops to build tech. And what we want to tell you here today is don't believe that hype, because we are building tech. We're building highly scalable companies, and we want to get into the weeds today. We want to have some very real conversation about what it looks like when you are walking in our shoes as a Black woman, as a Black person, because I see men in the room as well, walking down this pathway of, can I build this? How do I build this? When everything that comes in front of me seems to tell me that I can't do this. And we want to tell you, and we want to share with you that you can do this, and share some of the tools and the resources and tips and tactics that, that you might be able to use. Some things that helped us might be able to help you, or at least get you going down a pathway, or share some information with somebody else that might be able to use that information. So you know a little bit about me. I want to share a little bit about the amazing women that I have sitting beside me today. To my immediate right, we have Lauren Washington. Lauren is the co-founder of Black Women Talk Tech, the largest membership organization and the only conference for Black women founders. Y'all got that? You got your pens out? You writing this down? The only conference for Black women founders. Founded in 2017, Black Women Talk Tech's mission is to help Black women create the next billion-dollar business. It has since grown to 10 international chapters and helped over 30 women raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. You got me on that list? Am I one of those? All right, because I'm one of those. Given her experiences with fundraising and hearing stories from the hundreds of women she's worked with, Lauren created Funder in 2019, a platform that automates seed investing by creating portfolios of vetted startups for angel investors. Funder democratizes the investment ecosystem by reducing investor bias, diversifying investor risk, and decreasing the investing timeline. So we're going to talk about what all of this means in black and white in just a second, but in shorthand, what that essentially means is that she's taken the bull donkey out of the process of applying for angel and VC investing. So basically, she's leveling the playing field between us and everybody out there who's trying to raise capital. To Lauren's immediate right, we have Kimberly Hill. Kimberly is an LA-born and DC-seasoned technologist serving as CEO of Curl IQ. She earned her undergraduate degree in computer science from Howard University. In the past, she's worked at the intersection of tech, design, and community building at some of the world's most innovative companies, such as Intel, Twitter, Spotify, and Black Girls Code. As co-founder of Curl IQ, a beauty tech startup on a mission to harness technology to enhance the texturized hair experience, black hair care, Kimberly and her team built tech to streamline the purchase of textured hair care products and services using computer vision. I'm gonna let you explain what all of that means when we get to that. And then to Kimberly's right is Melanie Egg. Did I pronounce that correct? All right. Melanie is passionate about healthcare, especially bringing equity and access to communities of color. Melanie is now co-founder and COO of DrugView, a company committed to expanding the data set of health, medication, and genomic data of communities of color. Melanie's entrepreneurial journey started when she was Chief Commercial Officer for Irelasoft. That company technology has been licensed to a large clinical engineering firm. She believes firmly in improving the quality of lives for people at a macro level and sees DrugView as her vehicle to do that. So in short, what you're looking at right now with this panel in front of you is a woman who is building tech. I have a tech platform that's out on the street right now, have raised angel and VC funding, a woman who's helping women to do what I'm doing, and two women who are doing the same thing. So first, what I want to do is I want to immediately turn it to you, Lauren, because you just, and I know you, I'm going to embarrass you, but you blow my mind with everything that you have built with Black Women Talk Tech. And the reason is because, and I want you to dig into this, I want you to dig into and be really straight with everybody in the room about why this organization was founded. Because if it wasn't for this woman sitting next to me and the organization that she founded, my company truly might not be where it is today, because I found I was going in circles, could not get the help and resources I needed. But the second I partnered with this company, my company just flew. So I want you to talk a little bit about why you built Black Women Talk Tech. What was the genesis? What is it that you're doing for people in this space? And just how does this whole magical thing happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me? So we built it because of stories like that, and that's the whole mission behind us. We are trying to build up Black women so that they can create the next billion-dollar business. I have billion-dollar founder here. We want to show that through promotion, through funding, through research, and through education. And so the reason we started this was because I started my first company, Keep Up, back in 2014. I ended up winning $250,000 in 43 North's competition, which is they call it the world's largest business plan competition. And after that, I struggled. I really struggled to find additional funding. I struggled to find the right people to help me. I struggled to find advisors. I had no idea what I was doing. I just jumped into this world. And every time I talked to someone and every time I went to a conference, I didn't see anyone who looked like me. So every time I got up and went to these conferences and people were talking and they said, yeah, I just, mapped my idea out on a napkin and then I raised $1 million and bam, bam, just do that. And it's like, that's not my experience. And eventually I ran into my two co-founders, Asos and Regina, who are also incredible, also have their own tech companies. And we saw each other in the room at these conferences and we're just like, Black girl, I see you. And would literally just run up to each other because we just never saw ourselves represented at these places. And from there, it just kicked off because when we started talking to each other and realizing that our experiences weren't just our own and that other people were struggling, then we realized, hey, maybe this is actually systemic. Maybe it's just not me and I'm not pitching the right way and I don't have the right idea, but maybe there's something larger to this. And when we started our first conference back in 2017 at Google, we thought we would have 30 people come out. I think the space was half the size of this, and we had over 300 people who wanted to be there. So we knew that what we were experiencing and what our stories were universal to everyone. And so that really is what kicked it off, was trying to see myself in other people's experiences and realizing that the system as it is created was not there to support us, so we have to support each other and build each other up as we go.
So what does Black Women Talk Tech actually do? That sounds great. That's like a high level. That's a bird's eye view. Now let's come down a little bit lower and talk about, exactly how you help people in this room, how you can help people in this room. How did you help me? How did you help people like me? Like literally just on a very granular level.
Yeah, absolutely. So like we mentioned, we have the only and also largest, because we're the only, conference for Black women founders. This past year, from 2017, we smashed in about 100 people. This last year, we had almost 1,300 people join us in New York. So in 2 years, we grew 13x. Because of how much these resources were needed. It's a 2.5-day event in New York City. Our 4th annual conference will be in February. We have a pitch competition, so Simone is being very humble, but she was the winner of our $100,000 pitch competition. She was our first place winner. So we have given out, at least from our own resources, $140,000 in funding, but then through matching people to investors, giving them access, giving them the right people in the room and making sure they're all meeting each other. We know that we've helped about 30 women get checks and funding. And so this year we've also expanded into chapters, into local city chapters. So if New Orleans is interested in one, please come talk to me. So we'll have 10 chapters by the end of this year. We just launched our first international one in London. And then our next big expansion, which is actually happening tomorrow, is our Black Men Talk Tech Conference. For all the Black men in the room, we're expanding this for Black men as well because they also hit different barriers as well. So yeah, that's what we're working on.
Yeah, I'm going to swing back to you in a little while. So, Kimberly, can you talk a little bit about where you are in your process and what roadblocks, because we're talking roadblocks right now, what roadblocks have you experienced getting where you are right now?
Okay. Roadblocks. Let's see. So I'm gonna speak to 3.
Yeah.
One being believing in yourself. Are any of you guys familiar with the term imposter syndrome? I definitely experienced that, like 110%. I may come off as an extrovert. I'm totally introverted. And running a company, I realized right now that in order to believe in yourself, in order for someone else to believe in you, you have to first believe in yourself. And I think that's one of the roadblocks every day when you're hearing no. I hear no on a constant basis, but you have to train your mind to be like, I'm gonna keep going forward, right? So like eventually those no's are gonna subconsciously affect you and how you think about yourself. Is it me? Is it what I'm saying? Especially as a CEO, right? I'm responsible for going out and getting those yeses. So I think that's one of the roadblocks, is really understanding, do I believe in myself? Can I go on to the next day? Can I get somebody to believe in me? The next one is co-founders.
Oh, we didn't even get there yet. That's
that's
a
a whole
conversation,
nother conversation.
all in its own. Yeah,
That definitely was a battle. That was a battle. That just
let's hold that
ended.
one for a minute because that's gonna be a topic. Yeah.
That was a battle that we just ended. That was a year process.
Can you talk about your product? What I want to understand, I think what everybody here might want to know about is you have a very specialized product.
Yeah.
When you guys hear what this product, does, your mind is going to be blown. So at least my mind is blown every single time I talk to her. So talk a little bit about your product and connect it to the roadblocks that you might get when you're talking to other people outside of our communities about what that looks like.
Of course. So maybe let's backtrack a little bit. I run a company called Curl IQ. I was in your position maybe 2 years ago, really 3. I was an undergraduate CS student who was trying to go to grad school, to be quite honest. That was my end goal. I had role models who went and got their PhDs in computer science. I knew that. So I was just trying to figure out what CS project to do. My friend, my co-founder now, me and her had interned in Silicon Valley. Me and her met up. We're like, wouldn't it be cool if you could take a picture of your hair and understand what you need? I was like, yeah, that would be dope. And then I took it back I went to Howard. My advisor is a black woman. I took it to her and I was like, hey, I have this idea. Can we do something with it? She was like, of course. So that was the genesis of Curl IQ. That was just
hold on. You're going too high level. Okay, does everybody understand what her product does? You don't understand what it does yet, right?
So essentially, Curl IQ is we build software that can turn, just with a snap of a picture, we can tell you your curl type, we can tell you your color, we can tell you your porosity, we can tell you your moisture, all from a picture. And then tell you what products and what solutions, AKA stylists, to go to, because the stylists be lying on campus. I don't know what y'all, but period, right? These stylists be out here lying. But basically tell you what stylists to go to, just off your curl type and your hair profile that we identified from a picture. And that was all from my research that I did as an undergrad, where some of you guys are sitting right now. And that was cultivated through my research advisor on Howard University's campus, who happens to be a black woman who holds a CS degree and PhD in computer science. So in terms of roadblocks, it's understanding I'm young. I'm like 24. So going and talking to people and having a very intellectual conversation about how the technology works is a roadblock that I hit every day. People are like, is this really real? Are you actually capable? I have a computer science degree. I know what I'm talking about, Like, I have to fight every day to understand, like, I am technically, not only do I have to prove that I'm technical, but I also have to prove that I understand how business works, right? I understand what our people need. So that's a roadblock I deal with every day. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, talking about, kick behind products, Melanie. Can you share some details about what you are building? And I know that you have hit a whole lot of roadblocks with what you are building. I mean, the whole concept of what you're building is like to get around roadblocks for all of us, right? Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, so I'll start off with the problem. 94% of medical research participants are white. So that means that the 40% of Americans, or the 85% of the global population that is not white, meaning Asian, of African descent, Latino, or indigenous, when we take medications, it's essentially a black box. We're not sure how it will actually work. So what my company, DrugView, does is we're capturing health medication experiences as well as genomic data to reduce that deficit in terms of data. So we're starting off with medication experiences today. So that's retrospective data. So any medication that's on market, you can come to DrugView, essentially put in your race, gender, country of origin, the condition that you have, as well as the medication for that. But what we're doing to go past that is collecting genomic data to stack that on top of the outcomes data that we have right now. And the reason why that's important is that 90% of the human genome that's been sequenced is white. So what it is to be human is essentially just white people. And when it comes to conditions like different cancers or type 2 diabetes, where your genetics and frankly, how medications will metabolize in you is extremely important. That genetic data is very, very valuable. So we're essentially using that to really understand the differences. And in tandem with that, we have condition-specific communities. So the way that we see it is that your identity matters before you have a health condition. You're a Black woman before you have breast cancer, right? So, and even your experience with care is different. So with that, we're cultivating these condition-specific communities where people can talk about their care, their medication experiences, and really share information on how to reduce the deficits in health and medicine in general.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So here we have a woman who is building technology that can speak to our Blackness and how medications affect us. We have a woman who is building technology for our own hair. I don't know about you, but when I go into my bathroom and I open up the cabinet, there are bottles and cans and all kinds of things that are half used because maybe I bought something that didn't work properly for my kind of hair. She's building something to fix that. Not everybody understands these kinds of problems. These are some of the roadblocks that we hit. And then we have a woman who's actually building support systems so that we can actually move our technologies forward. So are we building tech? Yes. Can we build tech? What our challenges happen to be a lot of times, and we were having this conversation a little bit earlier, we can have somebody from another culture come up with an idea on a napkin and walk into a room and literally raise $1 million at a cocktail party. And then you have people like us who are sitting at a table and you have a hard time raising capital simply just because somebody doesn't understand your product or they don't believe that you're capable of building the technology that you say that you can build. And so what we're doing here today is we just wanted to be that sounding board, because if any of you are deciding that you want to walk down this pathway, or at least try to walk down this pathway, you have to know what you're about to walk into. So when people start telling you you can't build it, or when they start telling you that, or questioning your capability to build it, questioning your education, or to questioning your domain experience, questioning who you are, you have to make sure that you have it within yourself to like address all of those things. So, and if you want to speak to that?
I actually want to piggyback off of
Me,
Kimberly, because that was a big thing that in my first startup, people were like, first of all, just to give context, I have a background in econ and math.
Come on, speak
and
to
a
that,
biotech
please.
degree. So there's that. So in our first startup, it was very like math intensive. We had an algorithm that we created, and people were constantly asking questions like, how did you come up with this? And at first you're like, wow, there's a level of intelligence that they believed I had, but that's actually very coded language.
Yep.
That is exactly.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you came up with this. And I think for me, what I'm super passionate about is making sure that faces like this are in more rooms, because really the reason why they don't believe that we can do or are capable is literally they don't see us in certain rooms. Like I do a lot in biotech and in the pharmaceutical space. When I go to a lot of conferences, it's just me. Just me. In rooms of hundreds of people. So I think that that deficit of us being able to be capable is literally that, one, we're not in the room exercising our intelligence and our domain information, our domain knowledge, and then also they just are not interacting with us. So I'm really imploring all of you today to really kind of step outside of your comfort zone, definitely go into entrepreneurship, and be very strong and confident and essentially breaking the mold, because the more and more of us that are in these rooms, it becomes more normal. So there's that.
Yeah, I just want to level set a little bit in terms of the funding conversation, because I don't know if everyone here is on the same page in terms of what that means, right? So at least for Black women, we always hear these stories about people raising millions of dollars, billions of dollars to build their business. Black women are the most educated demographic in America. We start businesses at the highest rate and have been growing that for the last 5 years. And when a black woman is in her company, the revenue and profitability is higher than any other businesses. But at the same time, we are not getting the funding that we need to do this. So we're literally doing this on pennies to the dollar, literally pennies to the dollar. So when the average tech company raises about $1.4 million, black women raise about $36,000 for their businesses. We raise 0.2% of all of the VC funding that's out there, billions and billions of dollars. We are getting literally pennies to build our businesses, and that puts us at a disadvantage when we're starting, because then we're putting it on credit cards, and we don't have the people, we don't have what I call the rich uncles to give me a check for $100,000 to keep me going. I have to then figure out a way to survive that takes away from my business. So that's the level setting here that we're talking about when we're saying it's really hard, and a lot of that comes from access, like Melanie just said, knowing the right people, having the right networks, because a lot of times they ask you to have what's called a warm introduction, which means you have to know someone that I know and that I trust, and that's the only way you're getting a conversation with me as an investor. And then
They won't even take the
conversation. They won't even take the conversation if you don't know someone I know. And then when you do get in that room, and you're up there talking about hair care, talking about stuff that they do not understand, how do they see you as a leader when all of our tech leaders look like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Elon Musk? Who looks like me, right? Who can I point to and say, oh, she did it, so obviously I can too, or he did it, so I can too. And so that's the overall conversation and some of the barriers we need to get through. I will say it's not impossible, though. There are so many people who are figuring a way around it, and the way to do that is to make revenue. Make revenue for your business, because dollars speak. Like, they can't say no to if you're making millions of dollars a year. There's just nothing there for them to push back on when your product works and you're actually making money. So I always push that for people. Don't go straight for the dollars and the investing. Make sure you're building a sound business that is bringing revenue in.
I will agree with that for the most part. There are just some businesses that people build that you have to have some kind of money to start. Mine was one of those, because I couldn't, but yours too, right? Because my product was very tech intensive, and I couldn't actually generate revenue until I had an actual completed product, because you're shaking at your head, you know what I'm talking about. You can't build it. So there has to be other pathways that we figure out for ourselves. To level set on the investing again, I mean, talk about the friends and family round, and how that's like the first round of investment that they tell you that you're expected to have. And I want you to speak on this, all of you guys. But most of us don't have the rich uncle who can write us a $30,000, $50,000, $60,000 check. What, you want to explain? Yeah.
So first off, I want to take a moment to recognize that you guys are undergraduate students. I didn't realize what privilege you guys all have when you're an undergraduate student. I wish I would have taken advantage knowing what I know now. But there are resources out here that are willing to help. Like, my first check was from a student arm venture fund. So there are 3 out here. There's Rough Draft Ventures, there's Dorm Room From, there's Contrary Capital, and hopefully HBCU VC. But all of those student arm venture capitalist funds are basically student-run firms that are part of a bigger, larger firm. Like, my first firm is First Round Venture. Their big firm is General Catalyst. So it's just understanding that these people are literally on your campus. That's a whole different conversation for another day. But what I'm saying is, there are resources out here that will give you money as a student, period. Like, the fact that you are a student, people are more than willing to help invest in your idea than, say, a college graduate. I'm going to just level set right here. Because once you graduate, it gets real. Like, people stop giving you money. Let's be real. But, yeah, I just want to say, before you even get to the angel family, friend run,
yeah.
The fact that you are a student, an undergraduate student, or even a graduate student, there are resources out here that will give you money because you're a student. And come talk to me, because I'm willing to literally introduce you all, because that's how I got it. That's how I got my start. So that's one thing before we get to family round. I just wanted to put that out there.
Melanie, you want to
Period.
talk about friends and family?
Yeah, so friends and family is interesting, right? Because that is a lot of angel invest. So just to we keep using level set, so I'll keep using that nomenclature. So the rounds are like this. There's friends and family. There is pre-seed and seed. So pre-seed is where angels would invest in you, and those are people that are high net worth individuals, accredited investors, meaning that they have a certain amount of money, and then they would invest in pre-seed as well as perhaps seed. In seed, that's where micro investors or micro VCs start to come in, and those are funds that are smaller. And what is considered a small fund is a fund that has $25 million. So keep that in mind, because there are some funds that are saying they're funds and
Not really fun.
can't believe I said that. And then the next is, you can go from seed, you then go to your Series A, and that's definitely institutional investors, which would be venture capitalists, and then you go all the way up until IPO, which is initial public offering. So there are companies that do Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D, Series E. I've even seen one that went up to F, which is like, okay, what are you doing here? But yeah, so I just wanted to lay that foundation, because that's language that nobody shares with us, and we don't know that until people start throwing those things around. So I wanted to give you guys that first. Friends and family is where you literally go to your friends and family and say, hey, I've got this idea. Let's do some kind of exchange, either with debt, so a convertible note. Many people are not adept when it comes to like different debt instruments, so it's difficult for people to understand what it is that they're actually signing up for. And then, if they even have the money, because you're asking for probably anywhere from like 50 to 40,000. So I'll be honest, for my first startup, my brother, I was really fortunate for this, where he like essentially paid for my living expenses. So not necessarily invested in the company, but made sure that I wasn't homeless. So there's also those other things that you can try to do, but I'm fully aware that many people that look like us that's not our situation. And I think the way to circumvent the friends and family is to literally start off with pitch competitions. And I think probably Simone will really be able to speak to this well, because she's like a pitch competition extraordinaire. That's a great way to, one, hone in on your pitch, do it in a way that nobody's really getting equity. There's very few pitch competitions that require you to give up your company. And then it's non-dilutive funding that can really help you kind of sort out where you are with your company, and then use that feedback, whether you win or not, to really strengthen the way that you present your company to future investors.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So pitch competitions are definitely a good way to raise money for your company. And if I had known this before I actually stepped into the process, I probably would have honed a lot of my skills, and I probably would have done a whole lot of research, talking to people that have organizations like Lauren has, and finding out who she knows that also knows where these pitch competitions are happening across the country. Once I got involved in them, all of a sudden they find you. So that took maybe 3 or 4 months of going through this process before somehow I hit the right wormhole, and then all of a sudden they're sending me applications, and will you apply for this pitch competition? But it's definitely a way to raise money. So you can raise maybe anywhere from $10,000 up to maybe $100,000 in pitch money. Sometimes it's non-dilutive, and sometimes it's not. Non-dilutive basically means that you're not giving up equity in your company in order to take this money. It's basically just a grant that they're giving to you to go and figure out how to build your business. And that's the best kind of money to get, because you're not giving away the farm. So, which is going to be really important. You have to make sure you're watching your numbers. And if you're walking into this and you're walking into it slowly and you really don't know what the heck that you're doing yet, you're still trying to educate yourself, you don't want to start giving away equity in your company. You want to make sure you hold that really close to the vest, which is one of the reasons. Now let's start to get into the founder conversations, which is one of the reasons why I'm a sole founder. And I want to be a sole founder. I don't want a co-founder. I was told for a really long time, you have to have a co-founder. Remember we were talking before about what people telling you things that you need to do? You have to have a co-founder. You have to have a co-founder. Here's my friend. She should be your co-founder. The times that happened is, no few times. That happened a lot. But I don't want a co-founder. There are some people that really swear by them. I prefer to be a co-founder and bring in hires, but there are different philosophies, there are different thought processes. There will be people who tell you that you won't be able to succeed without a co-founder. That's not true at all. I just completed a top-tiered business tech accelerator program, one of the biggest ones in the world, and they typically don't even take sole founders, but they took me. So what that means, if they took me, they'll take you too if you have your stuff tight. So don't listen when anybody says, our rule is this or they're not going to take that. There's always a way. So let's talk about the co-founder thing for a minute, because I know that Kimberly's already shaking her head. She's having some co-founder challenges. And Melanie, I know you love your co-founder. I know her co-founder. He rocks. So let's just talk about the co-founder challenges. And I know you love yours too.
I love mine now. I always equate having co-founders to being married. Yeah. I have been married 6 times. I have been divorced once. And that divorce is so painful. It is so hard. So I think what Simone's talking about, finding the right person for your business, is so important. Do not jump in and just grab your best friend to do it. Find someone who's really going to bring something to the company that you don't have. What is a complementary skill that they can bring? And are they ready for the startup life? Because everyone is not ready for it. Do they have the same vision and same goals as you do? And so for the one co-founder relationship that didn't work for me, I understood then what to look for in others, because you are literally talking to them day and night about everything and anything. You will get on each other's nerves, but you are also there to build each other up. And if you are not really aligned on those things like you would be in a marriage, it's not going to work. So really think, especially I think because you're in college and you're around your friends and you get really excited about things, think about who is right for your business. It is not about just jumping in with your friends and doing something, because it could ruin your friendship, right? Is that the right person for your actual business?
So I love my co-founder. Let's not get it twisted. I love my co-founder. Me and her live together. We intern together. We work together. Like, that is my ride or die today. But we went through some situation. We went through a hard rock. We had let's just put it that way. And I think it was, we learned a lesson about trust, like to Lauren's point, understanding, do y'all align with everything in life? Are you ready for the startup life? Are you ready? I trust you? And the way I look at trust, someone told me this and I live by it today, and I can share it with you, is like, it's this thing where trust equals credibility, which is, can you do what you say you're gonna do, right? Authenticity. Are you bringing your whole self to the table, right? And then there's, multiply that by, what do you call it? Credibility, reliability, right? Are you going to do what you say you're going to do? And credibility and reliability are 2 different things. A lot of people don't realize that, but they're very 2 different things. And then you sometimes divide it by self-interest, because everyone is different. But I'm a numbers person. I study computer science. Everything I look like is a mathematical equation, but that's something that I resonate with. I first ask, are we aligned with our goals, with our life? And then, do I trust you? That's the core of everything, because this is a marriage. We're going to go through our ups and downs. And our co-founder that I just couldn't trust her. She left me hanging, like life stuff you just don't do to people. You just don't do. But I learned that very quickly, very, very quickly. And mind you, all of my co-founders are technical, but I think to Lauren's point about complementary skills, tech is a big field. People don't realize. So we all have our individual lanes. Like, we all specialize in something different. So that's understanding, like, even though you guys could be you guys have the same domain expertise, is understanding, can you articulate what you're good at in that particular domain, and can I understand that? That's the first conversation, right? And understanding how you're going to work together, things of that nature. But I had to the point where, and thanks to our vesting schedule, so let's get to that too.
Ooh, 'cause I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, so
Before we get there, let Melanie speak to the co-founder.
thanks to that, I didn't have to go through a lot, but thanks to that.
Yeah, so I adore my co-founder. He is the best. He's like family. But the reason why is that before we started our first venture, we took probably a good 5 months and really got to know each other, made sure that our values were completely aligned, made sure that we could actually trust each other. We're painfully honest. I mean, my co-founder relationship has taught me that, like, the honesty that you have to have about yourself, about what you can bring, what that other person can bring, is in a way that, like, it's transformative. I personally think that I have a better romantic relationship because of how much I've learned from being my full, authentic, honest self with my co-founder. I think that is key. You will not survive if you're not honest with each other, if you're not real about yourself and what you can actually bring as well. And I think that because I and my co-founder have that, and we can literally talk to each other in a way where it's like, hey, I don't like this, and then we figure out a way to move forward. I think that's why, we've had such a successful relationship, and this is our second venture. And I think the best signal is when things get tough. I think the biggest thing that we've learned is that when things got tough, we never blamed each other. We figured out, okay, this is a messed up situation. How do we forge through it together? And how do we make sure that we're going to be better on the other side together? It cannot be like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, because if you get to that point, there was something that was broken to begin with, and you guys probably should not be working with each other. So that's it. I completely agree. It is a marriage. This is somebody that, like, if your company takes off before whatever kind of exit event happens, whether that's you go public or you have an acquisition, you're with this person for at least 5 years to 10. So keep that in mind. And this is a person that, like, your significant other should also be very comfortable with them calling you any time of day, any time of night, that kind of thing. They're family.
So I'm going to jump into the whole vesting thing in just 1 second. But first, I want to ask a question for the audience. So if someone came to you and said, I want to give you $10 million today, but you have to share it with 2 other people, it's absolutely your choice. I'm going to pick the people, and you'll split $10 million. Or do you want to keep it yourself? What's your snap answer? Okay. This is the way that I look at co-founder relationships. Because when you're building a company and you own 100% of the company, at the very beginning when you're a startup, the three of you probably are going to share the company equally unless you work out some other kind of arrangement. Once you start taking on investors into your company and people are giving you money to grow your company, they're going to start owning pieces of your company. Once you start bringing on certain experts into your company that you're going to want to bring in to help you build your company, you're going to want to slice off some of the pie for them. They're going to own a piece of your company for the right people. So, and it's not a choice for everybody. Everybody has to walk down their own path. And I think maybe this was my path because I started the company myself. So it wasn't like I started it with other people and we grew it together. I started the company myself. But one of the reasons why I'm not interested in taking on a co-founder per se is because, I don't want to give the exact amounts of percentages that I own of my company, but I own a significant amount of my company today. And it would not be the same if I had taken on a co-founder. So I feel like I've built this company with my blood, sweat, and tears. It's something that I created out of scratch from nothing. And, I'll bring on the right people when it's the right time to bring on the right people. But I don't feel like there's any reason that I need to bring on a co-founder of the company that I founded and share that with them. But that's a personal response. Other people are going to look at that differently. Some people will look at my situation and say, yeah, but you can bring somebody on. They can help share the burden with you. They can help and you know what? I just probably went through one of the most grueling experiences ever in this tech accelerator that we were in. And if I can make it through that, I can make it through literally anything. So it's just a personal thing. It's just something to think about as you're starting to grow. I want to just throw out some single words and have you guys just to answer them very quickly. Give me your snap answer on what it means, because I think we need to have a little bit of education curve thrown into the room. All right, so Melanie, we're going to start with you. Okay, so just like your 10-second definition of the word exit.
IPO, initial public offering.
What is an exit?
Oh, that's an event where two things can happen. Either you are acquired, where somebody purchases your company, or you can take your company public, meaning that you're on an exchange. So when you hear of things like NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, that is your company going public. And when I think of an exit, I think of an IPO.
That's the best kind of.
But on that note, there are other kind of exits. Let's swing back to that in a second. Okay, so Kimberly, valuation.
Valuation. So it's essentially, the way I look at it is, how much do you think your company is worth, and how much does somebody else think your company is worth? The market, right? We're all playing in this market, this hypothetical market. I put quotes around it because everyone talks about it. But essentially what it is you have a pre-valuation, so what you think your company is worth before someone puts money into your company, and then what it's going to be worth after someone puts money into your company. So typically, your post-valuation should be higher than your pre-evaluation. If it's not, then there's typically a problem. That's a whole different conversation. But essentially what it is how much do you think your company is going to be worth? That can be based on a lot of different things. Typically, it's subjective. Typically, it's market research. But, yeah.
All right. Convertible note.
So a convertible note is an instrument, a debt instrument, like Melanie discussed, where you essentially, it's an agreement between you and an investor, and normally it's in the earlier stages of you raising money, so it'll probably be with those angel investors. You can potentially do it with friends and family as well, or seed. And what it means is that I'm going to give you a certain amount of money, like $100,000, and eventually when you raise more money, it's going to convertible note into equity for me. So now it's $100,000. When you go out and raise $1 million, I get 10% of your company. So it's kind of a debt instrument. So it is debt for them. And most of the time, if it doesn't convert, you don't have to pay it back. But the whole point is that they see you as a fast-growing, scalable company, and they think you're going to raise more. And so they're trusting you with this convertible note so that they'll get equity later.
Melanie, equity.
Ooh. That's loaded.
You want another one?
No.
Okay.
I like it. Okay, so I think of equity in a multifaceted way, right? So you can have a co-founder that should have skills that are complementary to you for you to grow your business, right? So they should get a share of the company. That is essentially what equity is. It's like your company is worth X amount of shares. Everybody is, well, not everybody. Simone. People get equity, essentially, right? So the way that I look at it is that there's a value that someone has for them to get that said amount of equity. So either that's with the building of the company, like a co-founder, or like we gave our employees equity, or you could have advisors. There's a value that they're bringing to the company. There's investors who should be bringing value, but sometimes they don't. Yeah, that's the way I look at equity.
No, that was good.
Okay.
Kimberly, angel investor.
Angel investor. So there's two definitions, but quote me if I'm wrong, but like there's a typical requirement by the law where you have to have at least 2 million in assets. Am I right? 2 million? 1 million. 1 million assets. And they have to be accredited. So typically these are people who are significantly highly wealthy, and they just believe in you and they want to put money into your company. Typically they invest with the debt instrument, typically a founder-friendly debt instrument like a convertible note or a SAFE. Their terms are a little bit less strict as an institutional investor because they just believe in you and they want to invest. And they don't do as much due diligence. So that's a whole nother conversation. But just know they're just typically, they can come in many shapes or forms. They can either be investing solo or they can be angel groups, like a syndicate or non-syndicate. That's a whole different conversation. But basically, an angel could be just a high wealthy individual who wants to invest in your company, who has extra money and they want to invest in your company. Or it could be a group of people who's an angel group who wants to invest into your company. And they use sometimes friendly founder terms.
All right. Due diligence was mentioned. That's a good one. Let's go to due diligence.
So due diligence is essentially when investors are interested in investing in you, they will dive deep into your company and basically tear it apart. Look at every single piece of your business, from how much equity you and your co-founders have, who has put money in before, how much revenue do you have, what is your business plan. So it's essentially looking through everything and looking at your background checks. I mean, they're looking at everything to make sure that you are who you say you are. So the first part of it is the pitch, and I get up and I talk about how great my company is, and then they dig in and they verify it, either through you or through third-party people. They're basically digging deep into your company before they give you that check.
That was a good explanation. I like that. Yeah.
Can I add to that? It's like a background check, y'all. It's literally like a background check, like a credit check, background check. When you go apply for apartment, they run a background check.
No, it's worse.
It's worse. Yeah, it's definitely worse, and it's longer.
And it's longer.
It's longer,
invasive, yeah.
but essentially it's like that. They just want to check and see everything that you say you are. I hate it, but yeah.
Yeah, we all hate it. So it's like a background check or a credit check, but they give you a document that's 1 or 2 pages long, and each document might have 50 lines of documentation that they want you to provide to them. So the first thing is you now have to go and provide these 2 pages of 50 documents each to them so that they can then go and verify it and rip it all apart and get back to you and tell you that everything's all jacked up. So yeah, it's a grueling process. They might want to go into your Stripe. They might want to see your historicals for the past couple of years. I mean, it's deep. It's deep.
They interview people too.
Yes. They interview people too. Yep. Okay. Melanie, merger and acquisition, M&A.
Oh, okay. So what a merger and acquisition, what it should be is that I'll start off with the larger company. There is a company that has found generally a smaller company that can provide a significant amount of financial value to them, right? They should, because that's funny, because 85% of mergers and acquisitions actually don't really work for companies, but I always find that funny. So you should be able to find a large amount of financial value, and from that you either acquire the company, saying that you buy it out, and there's a bunch of legal stuff that happens for the people that may own that smaller company, or you could merge the companies, you can merge the companies to then still have that same kind of value, but generally it's just better to just acquire, because mergers, they have challenges, but yeah, that's mergers and acquisitions.
Kimberly, family office.
Can we do another one?
You want to do another one? Okay.
I'll take them.
You'll take that one?
That's interesting.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So family offices are just families that have a significant amount of wealth, and from that they deploy their resources in investing or debt instruments. So they're not necessarily VCs, and many times the challenges with family offices is that they don't have like a domain, a real domain knowledge, and they're just rich people, right? But with that gives flexibility because your diligence may not be as stringent as like another VC or a micro VC. So that's essentially what they are. They're a high net worth family that has a significant amount of resources to deploy capital for companies that they want to invest in.
Yeah, that's on point. All right, so Kimberly, round?
So like, essentially when you're raising a amount of money, you want to set a round. It could be a price round or an unpriced round. Typically, an unpriced round is you just ask people for money, they give you a safe convertible note. But essentially, it's a cap of how much money you're going to be raising. Like my colleague to the left mentioned, there's different rounds. So there's the angel round, the family and friends, then there's the angel, then there's pre-seed, then there's seed, and then there's Series A, Series C, and that depends on the caps, right? I don't know what a typical seed looks like. That can be anywhere. You could probably speak to this, like 2 million, 3 million average seed round. So like in the pre-seed, it's anywhere between what, $50,000, so or 75. I don't know. It's very interesting. The rounds are changing. The amount of money rounds are changing as the market has changed. But essentially, it's just a cap. And it could be a price round, which is when you named how much you personally as a founder you basically say, this is how much I'm going to sell a part of my company for this amount of money. And these shares, like I'm going to price these shares at this amount. That goes back to your evaluation, but that's a whole other story.
So why don't we take SAFE and then we'll do some Q&A.
I think it's similar to convertible note. Yeah. SAFE it's similar to the convertible note. It's just a branded name for it that I believe is Y Combinator is SAFE. Yeah, so Y Combinator, we can talk about that, is an accelerator, one of the biggest accelerators in the world, similar to Techstars. And they basically give you a specific convertible note that you can actually go and download. So if you're talking to investors and you need that resource and you don't have the money to pay for lawyers, go find the SAFE because people recognize it and understand it and will use it and they're comfortable with it. So it's just a branded version of the convertible note.
All right, so we have a whole lot more, but we're going to take some questions first because I know you got some. Somebody's got to have some questions. Come to the mic. How are you?
Thank you. How's it going?
Good.
I want to just say thank you for you guys coming out. I was very great information. Thank you. So I'm a software engineer here at Xavier. So what tips do you have for anybody wanting to start a company? Well, I have a software company in the process of trying to get some funding. So what tips would you give to anybody that has a 9-to-5 but also want to start their own company? So that's my question.
So this might not be friendly, but I would also understand what kind of company you want to build for one as a software. Is it going to be high scale, high growth company? Because that's where you do a VC, you can go get VC funding. Or is it just going to be a business where you just want to be a consultant, right? 'Cause that requires a lot of different.
Well, it's a data science company where we do analytics. So basically, yeah, just a data science company.
So in terms of working the 9 to 5, my co-founder is part-time. So the way we schedule it is we have meetings in the morning. You work 9 to 5, and then evenings you work on the company.
Yeah.
Weekends you work on the company.
Yeah.
But in terms of founder and resources, you're a student. Like I said, there are VC funds out here that are willing to invest in you. Come talk to me after. I'm happy to help you in that regard. In terms of money, but in terms of building a team, you're a software engineer. I'm sure you can probably find people at hackathons.
I guess I'm not the best people person. That's why I'm a software engineer. So
Yeah.
it's.
I feel you.
Yeah,
I feel you.
I guess. Yeah, I'll try.
Well, I have a question. So are you looking to join another company as a software engineer?
I'm open to anything. I just want to put my coding skills out to the world. So I have like custom code scripts that I run to like trade the financial markets. So it's like certain algorithms I just want to sell. It could be a partnership type deal, but it doesn't really matter. I'm open to anything.
Okay, so what I will say is this, and you may know this and you may not know this, I don't know, but what I will say is this. Software engineers come at a high price. They are highly valued if you've got skills. Everybody at this table can attest to that. The right software engineer will make your company.
Make or break it.
Right? And the bad one is like, will break your company.
Yes.
Everybody knows this, and everybody looks for people who have got mad skills. Are you, when you graduate, will you be a senior engineer?
Oh, I'm graduated. I graduated
Oh.
college already. Yeah, I'm a software engineer here at Xavier.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you said data scientist, did you?
Yeah, that's what I do when I'm not at work, working a 9 to 5. I do
Oh,
data
wow.
science on my own.
I'm actually hiring, so you might want to see me
Definitely-
afterwards.
I'll definitely give you my card.
So, one thing I will say.
I'm just saying.
If you're looking to join a team, one of the resources that you can probably look at is something called AngelList. You can go there.
AngelList?
Yeah, I'm sure you have
AngelList is good.
AngelList
Yeah,
is really
it's
good
good.
in terms of startups, but you have a GitHub, I'm assuming, probably.
Mhm.
So, personally, if you're a contributor, they'll find you. Just put your work
Seriously,
out
though.
there.
Yeah.
Like, I would just put your work out there, because the right people who know how to look for right software engineers, they'll come look for you. You just have to be in the right places, which I mean, build your portfolio, website, and then go to hackathons. That's where you shine, right? Even
Yeah.
though you're not a really a people person, I feel that. But like, that's where you can win competitions, or you can collaborate with other people and meet other software engineers, and you can really like, software engineering is all about your work, and you just need to be able to put your work in places where people can see that. So from a software engineer to another software engineer, hackathons is probably the best way you could do that, sir. To be quite
But you
honest.
do need to start talking to people and letting them know that you are available for work, because I'm seriously, everyone is always looking for a good software engineer. If you could have the best software engineers on your team, and you're looking for more software engineers to continue to build. So what you have right now is really something truly special. You've got lots of skills. It sounds like you just have to figure out how to put yourself out there and market, because there's a huge market for people like you.
I do want to,
Sorry. Is there a particular, because you said fintech?
Yes, correct.
So that's the particular like
yeah,
vertical
it's
or
a
industry
fintech, yes.
that you want to go in, that you're selling the algorithm for?
Yeah,
I
it's
just want
so-
to make sure I'm clear.
So that's the thing. It's a company, but it does more than one thing. So it does data analytics on databases, but it also builds financial algorithms. So
Okay.
it's like more than one thing that I could build software for,
Okay.
but I want to be able to do both. So I don't want to just have to pick one. Would you recommend just picking one, or not doing the same?
For where you,
Because like you said, fintech, I tried to combine both of the two, so like the technology side and the financial side into one company, but it does get complicated at times. so-
right, and a key thing that like people, especially if you're seeking funding, you have to be very clear
Yeah.
about what it is that you're doing, because your work. Think of it this way, right? Like, you're working this job, you got this software. This software does all of these different things. Like, how should somebody actually like package that, right?
Yeah.
So my advice would be really grow in the fintech space is hot. I mean, Simone can attest to that. I would really look at growing in that. Of course, keeping your eyes open if there's another industry that you're interested in, such as healthcare with your data science background, because we're hiring. Yeah, but,
All hiring, always.
yeah,
Xavier's
but-
gonna be pretty mad.
yeah, no, but that would be my first thing, is to kind of focus on like what do you actually want to do with this software? Figure out the vertical or industry in which that you believe it will have the biggest value, and then you can start to set up those conversations with figuring out, how do I actually convert this into a real business that I can capture funding for and things like that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say something probably unpopular, but I would, as a software engineer, I would see if a company who's already in the fintech space would be open to buying those scripts.
Okay.
That's you don't always have to create a company. You can literally just sell it and then become an investor, like an angel investor. That's another way you can do it. A lot of people don't ever talk about that, but you have the skills, you have the chops, you have these scripts, you just have to prove it to them. I mean, that's a harder route, but that's an acquisition. You literally go to a company and be like, hey, this is what I have. Idris Sando, he's a good friend of mine, he did the same thing.
Okay.
Like, I'm happy to introduce you if you want to talk
Yes,
to him.
definitely.
Because he did the same. He went to Instagram and Apple and he sold his scripts. He didn't start a company, he just sold his scripts. So you don't always have to start a company, even though we're here talking about that, but you're still making money, and
That's a
you
good
can
tip.
use that money to invest in other companies. So I think it's still good and still relevant to the conversation, if that makes sense.
And I do want to just jump in and answer your original question about like building a company on the side, because that's what I did as well. So I had a 9-to-5. I worked the corporate life for 10 years, was miserable, wanted to jump out of it. And I think just really understanding how financially taxing being an entrepreneur is really important while you have a paycheck. Like, understand that and build up your nest egg. So I agree with all these things. I mean, you're in hot demand. I have a fintech company. Talk to me too, please. But I will say, in terms of understanding how long it takes before you get to the point where you can pay yourself as an entrepreneur is really important. So people say save for 6 months. I would say save for at least a year, because it takes a long time to raise money or to have revenue. And even if you do have revenue, you're going to be putting it back into your company. So really make sure that you are financially secure before you leave. Do the pitch competitions, find grants, find ways to bring in money before you leave for that paycheck, because it will be painful. So yeah, that's the big thing in terms of.
I have one last question, then I'll sit down. What did you spend more time on, the operational side or the technical side? Like the more business management or focusing on code?
Okay, so I'll do this very quickly. You almost have to look at it 50-50, because here's the deal: we're black. There's a black tax. So when we are presenting our businesses to, whether that's customers, whether that is investors, there is a level of performance and granularity that we really have to understand when it comes to our business. Yeah. And then also on the technical side, I and my co-founder are not technical founders. However, we became very, very strong project managers, and really had to oversee what the vision was that we wanted for our tech, as well as throughout everything, right? The functionality, our stack, all of that. So that had to be definitely strong as well, because like, your customers should be served.
So did you ever have to stop writing code in the process of building your own company to focus more on that? So, okay.
So I didn't have to, because like we've always had developers. So, but it definitely took a lot. And then especially while we had less funds, we had overseas developers for a period of time, which that was intense.
A nightmare? Was it a nightmare?
But I think
Talk about that another time.
That's a whole
This is a
nother-
happy
yes.
conversation right now.
I think it also comes back to the co-founders as well, right? So I am operationally based. I am the business side of my business, and I have people who do the coding. And so yes, you can do it by yourself, like Simone said, but you have to understand you can't do everything all at once either. But when you have a co-founder, now I can focus on the business while he focuses on the tech. So it's not a question of either or at that point. We can do it at the same time. So it's a hard conversation. You have to understand who you are and how you like to work, and are you self-motivated, and do you have the skills to do both of it really well? But I think that's also where you can bring other people in to fill that piece too.
Right. So I'm gonna be real. So mind you, this was my research project, right? So me and my co-founder are both technical, no business background. So as of recently, I think there's a balance between, I think I was talking to Simone about this earlier. As a software engineer, you have an inclination to always build. That's just me, that's who I am, that's what I like to do. But at the same time, you also have to build a business. You have to build something that people want. So for me and my the way we work is we typically switch off between it. Like luckily we have the ability to go between. Like she'll handle the business and operations, I'll code, or she'll code and I'll handle the business operations. We typically do it that way. We've gotten to a point now where we have to stop building and start testing. Like there's a whole framework and understanding. Is this even worth building? And as an engineer, they don't even teach you that, right? Like, is this even worth, you have to get through this whole process of understanding, is this worth the time and commitment to even build? So that's one thing I would say to you, because that was not taught to me. Understand, like, take the time to really validate your idea and then go and take the resources to build it. Because you have the skills to do it. I can go build this in like 2 seconds. But is it going to be profitable for the business? Because at the end of the day, we're building a business. So that's something we're balancing. But complementing your skills and just understanding and taking the steps to validate the idea first before you go build it. That might be hard as an engineer, but yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, come to the mic. Come on, let's go.
Here's my question. I don't go to school here. I actually work here as well.
Okay.
So because of that, I know I'm listening to you guys, and I follow everyone. I follow entrepreneurs already. So everything you said, I totally understand. I totally can follow. But I know if I was a 19, 18, 22-year-old college student, this would sound kind of foreign to me. So the parts that you guys have been talking about tonight has been more about, it's already been built. You already know what it is, and now you're just trying to get it out there. And since I see these kids every day, I'm like looking at them like, oh, y'all need to start businesses, but So I'm wondering, can you speak to, for the audience, and that I think this is something that'll definitely resonate with them, and they could take back, they could tweet about it, they could talk about it. Explain what that looks like between I'm a college student versus I'm an adult person with a kid trying to start a business. Like, what does that look like every day? Like, he spoke a little bit to it about like working a 9 to 5, but what does that really look like? Because right now they just have ideas. They just have an idea. So I know what I've learned from building my business between coming home and trying to build it and learning everything on my own, where if I was a college student, I would have way more time to have learned what I needed to learn. So can you speak to that so that when they graduate and they finally like get it, that they're not behind the 8 ball?
Let me
And then
just
all of
touch.
this will make sense.
Let me just touch on that for a second, and then I'm going to let you guys speak to this, especially maybe starting with you, even.
I just
Kimberly,
graduated,
right?
y'all, so I know the struggle.
Yes, but what I want to say is that I hear the pain point that you're referring to, but no matter who you are and where you are in terms of building your business, whether you're just in the idea stage or whether you're trying to validate your market, whether you're actually building, most of us, I think, have some kind of challenge that is in our lives every single day that we have to figure out workarounds for. So maybe there are college students in the room that have classes and studying and tests and all of the things that go along with college life. For me, I have 3 children, so I'm a mother and I'm a wife. And I was building this business. I have a daughter who is getting married next month. I have one son that just started college. I have a son that's in high school. So I'm juggling just like somebody else is juggling. We might be juggling different things, right? But I'm juggling. So that's what it's all about right there. You just have to commit to yourself that you're going to get this done. And we were touching on this a little while ago. It's like when you find that one thing in your life that just drives you, that passion that you just feel like way down in your gut, and you're like, I have to do this, I have to build this, I believe in this thing so much that I need to walk forward and make this happen. You will figure it out and you will find the way. No class will keep you from it. No studying will keep you from it. It's not that you're not going to go to class and study. Make sure you go to class and you study, but you're going to do that, and you will commit the extra time that you need to move yourself forward, because we all have to do that in some way or the other. I had my personal challenges because I'm balancing family life and people getting sick and kids needing this, kids needing that, and I'm mommy first. Make no mistake, my business is everything to me, but I'm mommy first. I'm wife, and then my business comes. So we all have those things. No lie, I probably work 15 to 17 hours a day every day. And that's the level of commitment that you have to have in order to get to where you want to go. So, but I want you to open that because, they touched on the college. And I know that that's the place that you were. And then, you guys, Melanie, Lauren.
Why don't you go?
Okay, I think the short answer is discipline. You just have to be disciplined. You have to believe when you're building a company, you're betting on yourself. So you have to literally be disciplined. For me, my senior year, I did not party. I started this company the summer before my senior year. When I tell you I did not party, I said no a lot. You have to be comfortable with saying no, first off, and understanding and creating a schedule for yourself. So for me, I worked one job, and I did Curl IQ, and I was going to school. So I had a schedule and I stick to it. That was just me. On weekends, I didn't party. I did Curl IQ. That was just who I am. But I think in terms of understanding how do you turn an idea to a whole business, it's understanding you have to validate the idea. And there's a really good book that I highly suggest people read, is Testing with Humans or Talking with Humans. essentially gives you a really good framework of understanding, how do I even think about this idea, right? It's understanding when you have an idea, you should probably think about the assumptions you're making about that idea, right? Understand and really think through that, right? Think about, like, what assumptions do I have about the market? What I mean by market is, like, who do I think is going to buy my product? What are the assumptions, right? What are the hypotheses? What are the assumptions I have about the channels? How am I going to distribute the product? And really get to the granular level about those assumptions. And once you have those assumptions, you can pretty much create experiments or go talk to people. Typically, there's a really good chart that I refer to when I'm talking to people about this, is the believability of information. And essentially it correlates with the amount of effort you put in should correlate with the information, the believability of information, right? So if I'm going to talk to people, people are going to say one thing and do another. So if someone says I like my idea, then the likelihood of someone actually liking my idea is significantly lower than someone actually, like, putting something in front of somebody and them testing that behavior, right? So there's a whole curve about it. It goes into detail with this book called Testing the Humans, but that's what I live and die by, and that's what I learned senior year, like validating what are the core assumptions that I'm making. And what I mean by core is, like, what are the risk assumptions? What are going to be, what are the assumptions that I'm making that need to be proved or disproved that are going to make or break my company? So once I understand that, then I either typically find a way to understand how can I go and test that hypothesis or assumption. That can look many different ways, right? Like, you can either go talk to people, you can put up a landing page. There's a lot of different experiment archetypes and different ways you can do that. But essentially what you're doing is, a business is nothing but a hypothesis. It's a theory that you think is going to happen in the market. So what you need to do in terms of de-risking your investment is gathering proof points that can give you a telltale sign about this is probably what's indication of this is what's going to happen in the market. So hopefully that was helpful, but simple answer is discipline, saying no, being very careful about being comfortable with saying no. Like senior year, no. No. Drinking, no. Partying, no. Like, that's just not me if I want to build a business. And then just understanding and comfortable with what are the core assumptions of your business and designing experiments around validating those core assumptions. Hopefully that was helpful. If you got questions, come and talk to me.
You had a question. You were standing. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else was going to say something. I had a question about beta testing. So my app will be launching soon on the iOS platform, and I'm trying to figure out, like, if you guys have any information about beta testing when it comes to using a platform that has a payment gateway running in the background. So when you're dealing a payment gateway running on the back end, so when you're dealing with people's funds, starting with a closed end, like a soft launch, like, what would be your suggestions as far as that goes?
Do you mind going into detail a little bit more?
As far as testing goes?
Like this payment gateway and, like, what you're trying
We could talk about that
Okay.
offline. But
Yeah, no,
Like,
I mean, just because I have a bit of context in terms of what you're doing.
So, like, do I use a smaller group of individuals and do
Yes.
that testing? That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Before I launch to the mass.
Oh,
You
gosh,
understand?
yes.
One, I think for what it is that you're doing, totally do a smaller group of people and be very aggressive in understanding how are they using it, how often are they coming on, like really getting down to those metrics that are super important for understanding how people would actually engage with the app if they didn't know you, right? You can use that as kind of that way to understand how people are actually going to engage. So I think going smaller, and also for what it is that you're doing, which is super cool, I would still relegate that to a smaller batch of people, because there may be some legal stuff that you need to kind of figure out before taking this off to the masses.
Gotcha.
So that
Can you
would be.
share what you're building?
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't know if she wants to.
Can you share?
I mean, yeah, I can.
Okay.
So-
A high level. Don't get into, don't give us your secret sauce, but yeah.
So basically, I don't want to say this. I have modernized a traditional way of co-saving, which people traditionally use in Africa and throughout the Caribbean. Most have heard of it called a susu.
Yeah.
So I've taken that idea and I've brought it into the 21st century. I'm trying to move it away from it being a cash-based system
Okay.
to a digital system. So
Interesting.
yeah.
And I think there's a difference between testing your idea and testing a product.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can separate those two. So
Okay.
I agree with what she's saying in terms of understanding, like, is this something people want? You don't have to build a payment gateway to understand that. You can
Right.
have people put stuff into PayPal and then spread it out, and then you can see if this is something they want to continue
The app
doing.
is already done.
Okay, well, if you haven't gotten there. Yeah,
At that
okay. Well, if
point,
it's already built,
it's
that's
already
different. But I
built.
think
Okay.
I think there are ways around this. I think everyone thinks you have to build a full product with all of your features to understand whether that works. But if you're already in it, I agree. Make it small,
Okay.
check with legal. Like, I'm building a financial product right now, and just making sure that you're not going to get hunted down by the SEC.
That's
is
right.
important.
Right.
Yes.
So, definitely thought about all of this.
So
Yes.
keep it small to people who you trust,
Right.
and who will, just back you specifically
Right.
before you go out into a beta. And there should be many steps in between that.
Okay.
Yeah. There's something in the tech world, there's a saying that goes, if your first product doesn't embarrass you, you waited too long. Yeah, you waited too long. So your first product that you're pushing out should really be something that's utterly and, embarrassingly horrible looking, and that you don't ever want to show anybody again the rest of your days. It should look like that. That's when you know you released the right first product to test. It should be that bad. It doesn't feel good, but really it should be that bad. So you want to build something extremely basic, to Lauren's point, before you start to really work on a real product to push it out.
Okay, awesome.
And test, like everybody's saying. Yeah.
And I just had a second part to that question. Well, kind of second part. But also, how do you guys feel about fellowships as far as, okay, well.
Okay, so Simone and I were in a great accelerator, and we had the pleasure of being with a company that is like super dynamic. So they really told us a lot about like different fellowships. I think that those are incredible. Like the visibility that they give you. Two, I think just the leadership skills. Like many times we don't think about like, what are the soft skills that I could actually cultivate to really grow myself as a founder, or to just personally grow myself? I think that a lot of fellowships offer that. And of course, there's the monetary benefit, right? Like they provide funding. So I'm like all about fellowships. I think that they're like super cool, and I super encourage you to apply for them. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it sounds like you're right for pitch competitions about now.
I actually did one. I did my first one. I did Know You Vape during Essence Fest, and I ended up meeting one of the members of Camelback, which is a
Okay.
local company, and I made it to the second round of their current fellowship program. So we'll see what happens. But I did my first pitch competition.
Congratulations.
I was second runner up. It was my first time.
That's
I was
amazing.
scared, but
Keep
it
going.
actually,
No,
I mean,
good.
it was an amazing experience,
Yeah.
and I really think that I'm probably going to do a lot more because I just feel like it's
So now go home and research and find 50 of them and apply.
There you go.
Hello, how you guys doing?
Hi.
My name is Michael Williams. I'm a senior computer science major here at Xavier. I have kind of a three-part question. My first question is, me and my business partner have developed a platform that allows students to leverage social media to help pay for school by crowdfunding scholarships.
I've heard about you guys.
Yes. I have three questions. One is for you. I heard that you outsourced your work to engineers. I did the same, and it was a big mistake. It was costly. There was a language barrier and time barriers. So I want to know what kind of helped you succeed in terms of outsourcing work.
Right. So, one, to never do that again. I think the bigger thing is, to Lauren's point, right? Like, you get into this mode where you're like, okay, I have this idea. I want it to be built. I want to do it by any means necessary.
Yeah.
That is not the approach to take, right? The better approach is to, I don't want to say sit back, but find the most cost-effective ways to get your very, very, very basic app built and then launch it. I think if you are going to use foreign help, and to be fair, I had two experiences. One was in Jordan. The one in Jordan was excellent. The issue was the project manager. So the developer was great, but there was a challenge. And then the terrible situation was in India. I don't want to bash a whole country, but I caution people from doing that. But yeah, so the way that I would put it is really understand what it is that you're trying to build and take your time with that, and try as many different hacks. There's apps like Envision. There are all of these different programs that you can use that can have a mock-up of your app that you can start to show people, or at least start to see how people will actually engage with it, because the engagement is super important for like the UI and the UX, and those are things that you can do absent of like actually having it developed.
Yeah, so I'm
yeah.
technical. I built I built the app partially, but there's some components that I can't develop on my own.
Right.
You know,
I have two things.
Yeah.
This is a workaround because I did this at Howard, no cap. So you can approach, I don't know if there's software engineering classes here or maybe a business case. You just go to the software engineering class and be like, hey, like I need this built. Will your class build it for me?
I'm a software engineer and I've tried that.
Oh, you have? It didn't work? Okay, how about
I'm a senior, and so it's like people are asking me for help.
Oh,
so
yeah, I
was
feel
like,
that.
who
Yeah.
am I gonna- yeah.
Or
Clear
you can,
then.
or
No, go ahead.
or have you tried hackathons where you go and you have your idea and you have people around you try to build it for you?
No, I haven't took my idea to a hackathon. It's a recent idea, probably before the school started, so like in July. So we just started developing it as soon as ideation. We built a landing page, talked to multiple people, which will also lead into my next question, which is we have contacted a scholarship platform called Scholly. They contacted us at first because our name was Social Scholly, and they wanted to sue us for trademark rights. But the conversation quickly switched from we want to sue you to we kind of like what you're working on in terms of a partnership or something like that. But I also heard you over say that like merging and acquisition is kind of rough and not frowned upon, so I want to get your take on that as well.
I don't want to say that it's frowned upon, right? But so the funny part is that I'm actually very familiar with that company because there was a person that I was mentoring that they were competitive, and it may be legitimate that they would want to like acquire you to bolster their platform. So I would be cautious in what you're revealing to them. But I know that they are very well capitalized, and they are a platform that's like taking off. So if I could see where there could be great complements there. So I'm not completely against M&As, like because there's real value that it seems from what you're building, they would actually be able to get. That's crazy. Yeah, I totally know about that company. Yeah.
Have you had them to sign an NDA?
No, so it's all been over the phone conversation with their legal team. Just at first, hey, you guys are trademarking our name. You know, there's legal stipulations with that. Then it kind of said, hey, you guys are in college. I like what you're working on. I see your project. I'm supposed to set up another meeting with them to kind of show them a business executive summary, or we're working on like a pitch deck and see if they actually really want to take what we're pursuing, what we're building further in terms of partnerships or anything like that. But I have no experience in this space, so it's a learning process.
Yeah,
So.
you haven't given them any like technical skills.
No, not
or
at all.
anything like
Not
that?
at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Not
Yeah,
at all.
because and I think before it progresses, you're absolutely right, Simone. Like they should be open to getting an NDA in place, because if this is actually going to become like we had to do this. So like if this is actually going to be like an acquisition or something that is merged together, you all should be able to freely talk about like your tech, and you need to make sure that you're protected. So an NDA makes sure of that.
And if they hesitate to sign one, that's probably a good sign to you to back off, because they should not be hesitating. If anything, it's good for them as well, because your business acumen is sharp, and they see that you're protecting your IP, and they should want you to protect your IP if they're looking at your IP to merge with. So so if they don't want to sign an NDA, that would give me reason to be concerned as well. But yeah, I would be very cautious about that. Yeah.
Well, hopefully,
I agree.
yeah.
I'll say also definitely be cautious, because sometimes the intentions are not always there. Even unconsciously, they may talk to you and say, oh, this is not right for me, and then all of a sudden you see a feature
Right.
in their product. So just be really careful about what you reveal. But I think those conversations also have to align with, again, like what is your goal for the business? Because if you are merging, and it's likely will be an acquisition, which means they have more equity in your company. It's not a 50-50 deal because of where you're at and where they're at. You have to understand that if they are buying you, they own you, and they own your ideas, and you are not running that company anymore. And is that really what you want, or do you want to build out your overall vision for that business? So understand what your goals are, and maybe 5-10 years down the line, that makes sense for you because you got to the place where you wanted to be. But when you're this early on, understand that like they're probably hiring you because they want to hire your work skills more so than the idea.
And one of us was touching on this, I think this was you, Melanie, earlier, that it is not uncommon for people to build something and then just sell it. So it might not even be that this is a company that you have decided you want to take the long road, or maybe it is, but this is probably something that you might want to start thinking about now, because it's not uncommon for companies at your stage to get approached by other people who want to acquire you because they want what you have built, and you could just build and release and sell for a check. People do that all the time, and then go back in with your next business idea. So, but these are some things you need to start thinking about. Yeah, the sharks are after you.
Yeah.
Just a good sign.
And the last question was for you. I know you said that tomorrow that the Black Men Talk Tech is going to be releasing. We're also on the stage of seeking funding. We're in a pitch competition as well, but outside of that, we want to talk to people and actually figure out if we can get our company funded to start developing further, so we won't have the same problem of trying to outsource talent. We can have talent in-house. So what would be your advice on that?
So I think it goes back to traction. Like that is the biggest thing, and I'll also give the definition for traction. It's any way that you can prove that your product or idea is wanted in the marketplace. So oftentimes that's revenue, sometimes it's about how many users you have, sometimes it's about partnerships, right? And having a big corporation who believes in your idea and is working with you. So any way that you can show that your company has viability to be something bigger is what investors are looking for, because at the end of the day, we can talk about all these stats, but they're investing, right? They want to make money off of your company, so you have to prove to them that I'm the right bet for you to make money, right? And for them, what that looks like is they're looking for at least a 10x return, which means I put in $100,000 in your business, I want to make $1 million off of that at least, right? And so to get to that kind of number, you have to grow really, really pretty big. So that's what they're looking for. I think that's a piece of it when you get to those meetings. The second piece is access, which is hard and maybe a little bit harder. But I think leaning on whoever is in your network to make introductions for you. So I mentioned those warm introductions. Try to find someone through, if you're on LinkedIn or if you're connected on Facebook or whatever it is, do you know this person that I want to get to, and go through that route. And if you don't have that, cold email them. I have gotten so many emails back and so many meetings from people I just cold emailed because I'm just going to take that chance. And at the end of the day, it's just kind of a numbers game. You just got to go out to as many people until you find the person who believes in you and wants to fund your business.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have to start wrapping up. So Melanie, last words?
I'm a huge advocate for, I know a lot of people talk about STEM, but I'm a huge advocate for people of color, particularly people that are of African descent being in STEM, because we really need to be in more rooms, and there are decisions being made about our health and the quality of our health, and we need to be a part of those decisions that are being made.
Kimberly?
I would say go for it. That's just my word here is go for it. Believe in yourself, bet on yourself, and then leverage me. I'm here, hopefully my other counterparts, but leverage me. I'm happy to help. I would echo what she said. I'm a STEM person. I'm also a woman of color. Love to see my people studying computer science. So just go for it. Believe in yourself, truly. That's really what this is all about. Going for it and believing in yourself, and keep going. Keep going. That's really what it is.
Lauren?
Yeah, I know we talked about a lot of stuff on the stage, and it probably seems daunting, but go for it and take baby steps to get there. Like, you're not going to build Google in a day, right? Just make sure you're moving forward. That is the only way to get to building one of these bigger companies is taking little baby steps and just keep going and keep building, and you'll eventually get there. Make sure you just have that resilience to keep going.
I guess my last words would be buckle up, Buttercup, because it's going to be a long, hard road. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be painful a lot of times. Some days you're going to wake up in the morning and not want to get out of bed because you don't want to face all that you have to do that day,
Yep.
right? But it's also one of the most rewarding experiences that you will ever have in your lifetime. And go for it, like Kimberly said, just go for it and work hard and do your research, tighten your scripts. Make sure you have everything, all your processes down, research, get mentors, talk to people, and just walk your road and don't let anybody tell you that you can't. I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. It's been very meaningful for all of us. At this table here tonight, we all believe very much in all of our ability and believe that whatever it is that we conceive in our minds, we can achieve and we can build. And I think we all want to see all of you guys doing that. And if we have inspired any of you tonight, then we came and we did exactly what we have accomplished. So we want to see all of you out there building. I'm definitely accessible. You can definitely count on me to be there in case you guys need to reach out. And I want to thank you for coming out and sharing your time tonight. Thank you very much. And thank you to my awesome panel. Thank you guys for flying in all over the country to be here tonight. Thank you guys.
Okay, one more round of applause for our panel. And I think you all you're going to stick around for a few minutes, maybe for some one-on-ones?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Some one-on-ones and some cookies.
Yeah, there's still some cookies back there.
I was eyeing that cookie. I was definitely eyeing that.
Right, we are adjourned. Thanks for coming out, y'all.
Thank you, Professor Quinn.